So last week, Apple did their whole October Scary Fast event, and as usual, we got the whole Hollywood level production, amazing transitions, amazing drone shots. We'll talk about that in a minute. But an interesting thing that happened was after the screen went to black and Tim Cook said,
"Have a great night."
we got a small footnote like right at the bottom of the screen, and it said shot on iPhone and edited on Mac. Now, edited on Mac, obviously, yeah, like the Mac's a powerhouse, it's pretty much expected. But now, shot on iPhone, that was something that really caught the attention of most people on YouTube and Twitter, including myself. Like, not even gonna lie, when I was watching the event, I was thinking about like not even the products, because the products, well, I made a separate video about them. Go check that out on my channel if you haven't already. But the products were kind of boring, but the shooting itself, the production, it was pretty impressive. Like the drone shots, the transitions, all of the sets, the lighting, the audio, the video, everything was very professional, very Hollywood level quality, and overall very impressive, as Apple always does. But not once during the live stream did I or anybody else on Twitter or, well, YouTube, I guess, really think that this is shot on an iPhone. Like everybody was fully on board that this is probably just another $100,000 cinema camera production. And well, at the end, Apple really did surprise pretty much everybody, and this was arguably a bigger announcement than the actual, well, products themselves. Now, obviously, Apple's a trillion-dollar company. They're the biggest company in the world. It wasn't just like Tim Cook pulled out his iPhone 15 Pro Max out of his pocket and started filming like this. Like, obviously, there was a lot of thought and effort that went into this. Like they were using lights and cages and big crews and like the whole set that is Apple Park, like worth like probably $1 billion or something. But obviously, given all that effort, like it's still very impressive that they took a cinema camera worth God knows how many hundreds of thousands of dollars and they replaced it with this, well, iPhone that's usually in your pocket. It's a daily accessory that everybody has nowadays. And I guess even the fact that they shot this at nighttime, which is when most iPhones, smartphones, or even cameras generally do struggle with. Low light is a hard time for most cameras, and the fact that Apple, the world's biggest company, actually used an iPhone 15 Pro Max for all of their big shots at nighttime and like their big announcement, I think that really shows how confident they are with the iPhone. And moreover, like I think it really does lower the barrier for entry for a lot of beginner filmmakers and YouTubers. Now, Apple did release some behind the scenes footage of this because, well, marketing, I guess. But they did release some behind the scenes footage. If you want a deeper dive into all the equipment they use, like their third party apps, their sets, their lighting, their cages, I'll link Tyler Stellman's videos down below, and he actually does a pretty good deeper dive into this. But what's really interesting is they obviously did use their whole like 10, 20, God knows how much, but like they used their really expensive lights, they used like all this equipment. And people really did criticize them because the average person who wants to make a nice video once in a while, or even like a beginner filmmaker, a beginner YouTuber, or anybody that wants a nice video out of their phone, they're not really going to have an airy sky panel ready at their disposal. Like that is something that only like Hollywood level productions like Apple's events are going to have. But at the same time, you gotta remember the bar is so high for them. They're a multi-trillion-dollar company. Obviously they will. As I said before, like I think the most impressive part is the fact that they stripped out their cinema camera and they replaced it with $1,000 iPhone. Like it is just very impressive, and it does show how far along the iPhone has come. And I don't think what Apple's trying to convey here is you can get the same results we did, but more so that, well, look at what we got when we replaced our cinema camera with an iPhone. And if Apple's trying to say that, well, you can get these types of results, they wouldn't really show like a whole ad, a 2-minute ad to be precise, of them just using like a Ronin tool, a really nice cage, these airy sky panels, and like all of that like really expensive equipment. But more so, it was like, look at what we got when we used an iPhone. And I think we might actually see some Hollywood filmmakers use iPhones for certain shots, which I guess since Apple's doing it, why not them too? Moreover, it does like actually speak a lot about the potential of the iPhone too if used rightly. Like a lot of beginner filmmakers do really want to know about what the best camera is for them to start out. And at this point, I think the best camera actually would be the iPhone. Like, don't get me wrong, it's nice to have a mirrorless camera like I'm using it right now. But that is beside the point, because if I were to start filmmaking or YouTubing or whatever today, I wouldn't really be going out and buying a $5,000 camera. I would use what's in my pocket already. And that is something that is actually very useful. And we'll talk more specifically about that in a second. But I think the barrier for entry is very low, especially for young kids that might want to start filmmaking. They could just borrow their parents' like nice iPhone and really like get nice results out of it. And moreover, you have software like DaVinci Resolve and even the Final Cut Pro 90-day free trial, which allows you to use professional filmmaking software for free. So not only do you have this really nice like filmmaking tool, but you even have all the software like so low. Like 10 years ago, what you needed to make a YouTube video was like a C100, C300 cinema camera. And now, once again, pull it out of your pocket and just, I guess, wipe it down and start filming. Even 15 years ago, the iPhone couldn't even shoot video, and now we're at this point where not only does this like make phone calls, send text messages, use the internet, contain a personal voice assistant, and do a whole bunch of stuff, but it also takes Hollywood level video if used properly. So now that being said, I'm using a mirrorless camera right now, and some of you might be like, well, that's kind of hypocritical. And moreover, you also might be wondering, well, why didn't Apple actually do this before? Like, for many years, their iPhones have been miles ahead of the competition in terms of video. And why did they only go for this year? Well, the answer is, well, this year, the iPhone 15 Pro and the Pro Max brought very huge, but also at the same time overlooked changes that actually changed a lot for filmmakers. Now, I personally am still on the 13 Pro because this YouTube gig doesn't really pay me enough to afford the iPhone 15 Pro Max, so like and subscribe, I guess. I don't even know. But yeah, previous years iPhones were, don't get me wrong, they were still great, miles ahead of the competition in terms of video, and also really great for photo as well. I use mine all the time for photo. But in terms of video, the image quality was just not professional. I guess like it was very plasticky. It didn't really have great colors that you could like edit too much. Like you did have ProRes, but outside of that, you were very limited in your options. But this year, we actually got two really big features, in my opinion at least, that changed filmmaking on the iPhone forever. Now, the first of these is the log color format. And if you don't know what log colors are, it's basically like you're shooting video, but you have really desaturated, decontrasted, and desharpened colors. And it's basically like almost a faded look. And when you're editing in DaVinci or Final Cut or Premiere or whatever you use, you add in all these colors by adding in saturation and changing the highlights and dynamic range and shadows and midtones and all of that stuff. But you basically like actually add in colors and brightness back in post. And this really removes like the whole plasticky effect that you can get on iPhones like mine sometimes. And it does make your video look more natural and also more professional. Now, this is one of the big changes, but also another was external recording, which actually allows you to manage your files better, because right now, like for example, on my iPhone, if I record 4K ProRes, like my iPhone's getting full in like a minute or two. Like there is no way I can actually shoot a decent 15-minute video on my iPhone. However, this year we actually got the option to connect external drives or SD cards or USBs to the USB-C port. And this allows you to externally record, which actually allows you to manage your files better, because before you would have to like airdrop or try to move your files using the Lightning to USB-C thing. But now it just directly records, and then you could connect it to your computer and start editing, which I guess that is really great, and it's something that I do with my camera and very helpful. Now, given these two features that just came this year, the iPhone actually became usable for a lot of professional cases, including the Apple event, which is fully a Hollywood level production. So all in all, what does this actually mean? Well, for me, I'm just really impressed. Like, I actually want an iPhone 15 Pro now. Like, for me, I've always been an iPhone 13 Pro guy. This is the best iPhone, in my opinion, to have ever iPhoned, I guess. I don't know. This is the best iPhone to have ever iPhoned, and I really love this phone. But the iPhone 15 Pro, that's looking really impressive right now. But yeah, real talk, this does show how great the iPhone is. I mean, like, the iPhone's already been miles ahead of the competition for video for many years now. I mean, I use it for B-roll sometimes. I know MKBHD uses it for his autofocus channel. Doug DeMuro and a lot of other creators actually use it for their channels too. And overall, it works great, especially for video once again. But even now, Apple, a $1 trillion company, is using the iPhone for their productions, which is honestly impressive. I mean, this really does validate iPhone video a lot more now, and it's not even just Apple flexing about it, but it does really lower the barrier for entry for a lot of beginners now. And honestly, if you really want to start filmmaking, obviously a nice camera is important, but you can really start with what's in your pocket now. But yeah, that's about it. I want to know what you guys think. Do you think this whole thing's a gimmick and Apple's just showing off and really relying on their whole sets and lights? Or do you think that this is really impressive, and are you on board with what I'm saying? I want to know what you guys think, so make sure to comment down below and make sure to like and subscribe to support the channel, and I'll see you in the next video.